My Lords, I too would like to thank the noble lady, Lady Mackintosh, for bringing this debate, which is obviously very timely. I'd like to mention two issues, both which have been raised already, but about which I feel quite strongly. The first is the impact assessments that the government has had done. I understand there are about 50 of these, and at the moment they're being kept secret. Now, I simply can't understand why that is acceptable. We live in a democracy. It is for this House to see, to scrutinise and to understand, and of course for the other place, to understand exactly what those options are. How can businesses prepare? How can anyone prepare? And how can we call ourselves a democracy if we can't discuss them? It's also, it's almost as if the government is holding us to ransom, that we aren't allowed to know what is actually incredibly important. This is the biggest thing that's happened to Britain probably since the war. We need to know, and those impact assessments really have to be published. My second issue is the World Trade Organization. The Secretary of State for exiting the European Union has said that the default position for leaving the EU without a trade agreement would be to trade on most favoured nations status under the World Trade Organization arrangements. Again, I think this is something that absolutely cannot go unscrutinised. The WTO is undemocratic and places big restrictions on what countries are allowed to do. It's designed to force through free trade at the expense of local communities and local production. It also has a dispute settlement body whose decisions are binding on all members. A country that loses a dispute must change its policies to comply with the body or face compensation and retaliatory sanctions. David Alan Green, a law and policy commentator at the Financial Times, has said that since the WTO operates on a consensus decision-making system, the UK will be at the mercy of countries playing politics with ulterior motives. For example, Argentina over the Falklands or Spain over Gibraltar. He goes on to say that the WTO was another ironic example of a process supposedly about taking back control, handing real power on the UK's post-Brexit fate to the whims of outside powers. There will, of course, be tariffs. There will be big impacts on the services that we export, such as professional legal services and management consulting. Our European committee said that in a no-deal situation, many professional service firms would either relocate to the EU or move resources to partner firms in order to continue to trade on preferential terms. Now, in spite of the fact that I voted to leave, and I still feel very strongly that that is the right decision, I also feel that we cannot do it in this way. We have a cabinet supposedly ignoring all concept of group responsibility, of ministerial responsibility. It's not for me, from an unwit party, to lecture the Tory party on discipline, but somebody should, perhaps. The government has calculated what impact all of this will have on the UK, and they must tell the truth to the public about what's coming, and they must allow Parliament to play its proper role.
Glad to hear